and she wasn't. I just assumed that she was just a very unhappy lady.
Why?
I'll tell you why. Because we didn't talk to each other for a long time. And I think, we danced, but nobody ever really no one ever knew how unhappy anybody else was. I resist change. I would have stayed married to Himmler. I wouldn't have left. It's, because I won't change anything if I can avoid it. But it's been wonderful.
You're just stuck in your ways.
Oh, terrible.
You just like order.
Or disorder. But I like whatever I'm used to.
I see. So you would have stayed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You mean you bored her?
Well, I think probably a lot of it's true. Yeah, I guess I did.
You just bored her away.
Yeah, I think probably that's a kind of blunt way of putting it. I didn't thrill her away, let's put it that way.
Go for it, Frank.
I got a brother, he's in the Gardaí. I got an uncle up there in the Dalles. He's quite a charmer, he's a mighty farmer. Catch me if you can, my name is Dan and I'm your man. And I'm off to Liston, Byrne at the end of the year. I'm off for the bit of crack, the pullets and the beer. I'm off at shifty, till I'm over 50. Catch me if you can, my name is Dan and I'm your man.
Just remember that a few weeks ago, I'm sure Ted does remember, that when Daly had won the big race Leopardstown, in the rerun of the race, which I saw after, Ted was discussing the breeding of the horse, and he said, and I rode her mother 20 years ago. And that's it.
Grandmother 25.
If the sex is wrong in marriage, the sex in your marriage is wrong, that overflows into the other departments in your marriage. But if the other departments are right, I think that's right. It's a bit like the hinge of the door. If the hinge is strong, the door swings well.
That's right.
As I said to the young guy at home, when I die, I want to be brought up to the top of the sugar loaf. I want to be set on fire like an Apache warrior. I want the guitars played at full tilt, like at least 20,000 watts. Then I want to be put in an urn on top of the television with a photograph of myself with a lot of hair in 1967.
Why should you have enemies? You create them.
Well, you create them, yes, and
right.
Do you go out of your way not to create enemies?
Well, no, but there's no point in I get it easy to get on with people. That's the reality of it.
Well, what would you do now in the case of divorce? What are your feelings about? Just take that example.
You
divorce.
Got me on this show to have a lovely profile discussion, and you're turning it into a political debate.
This is part of the profile. What's your
I am not the spokesperson for my party in relation to that.
I'm merely asking you. I'm merely asking you. What do you feel about divorce? Yes.
Look, there are certain people caught in the trap, okay? And there are certain people who have to be looked after. Something will genuinely have to be done for them. And as a legislator, I seriously would be open to have discussions at all levels in relation to that, as a matter of urgency indeed. But in relation to it personally,
yes,
my feelings would be that I wouldn't be for it.
You wouldn't.
And if you look at the example from our near neighbours in Northern Ireland, and you see everyone who gets married for the second time, 70% of them break up within 2 or 3 years.
The statistics are thrown out.
It's a personal thing.
I just wanted to know how you felt about it.
And the church is a sensitive issue.
So you would be against divorce personally, but you'd listen to argument.
Gabriel Byrne, you brought me on this show to have a little family chat, so you did.
Right, that's the part. This is what's more family than divorce, don't I ask?
I
agree. We were there. And the curtain goes up and all these crowds gathering in Rome, and I said, God, the English are going to get a shock when they see this actor come out of nowhere and give them a Flavius they're never going to forget. And of course, I disappear the first 5 minutes of the play, but they're going to have to suffer the loss, the vacuum of my disappearance. Well, I stood back and I'm waiting for my time to come, and then comes my cue, and I march down center stage, and I stand, and I cannot remember a line. I can't think of a line. So I stood like that. What am I going to say? I looked at the audience and I went, and then went off.
Pure, she was clean, she was virginal too. So why'd you have to go and make her face turn blue? It's true, it's you. Now what you gonna do? And the fellow say, yo, this is getting pretty scary. So he pulled out his blade and committed Harry Carey. Iago got caught, but he probably caught the plea. Loaded up his bags and moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Yeah, get real.
She started telling me the story of her life and told me about her son Joseph, who had been the apple of her eye, and she hoped would be the prop of her old age. That's a bit mixed metaphor. Well, and but she said he went off and got married one as old as myself. I said, terrible man, Joseph. And she said, there he is up there. It's absolutely true. There he is up there. And I went out and looked at the picture, and there was Joseph and this old woman beside him. And I said, God, ma'am, didn't he marry an old battle axe? She said, that's myself. So I staggered back to the door and I said, it looks lovely now in the light, you know.
How did she not crack up after all she went through? And then finally, after 7 years, when she was released, how did she cope when people went around wearing T-shirts referring to Kalia, watch out Kalia, mummy's coming home?
Yeah, and the dingo was innocent earlier on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I guess you still see some of those T-shirts around. In fact, there was a shop straight across the road from the Royal Commission while it was running in Darwin that had about 6 or 8 varieties, including the latest one, especially for the Royal Commission, which had a caricature of me in a dingo suit and it had the Darwin theory written on it. I guess it's sort of, why give them the pleasure because of what they've done wrong of upsetting you and causing you distress. They're the ones that ought to worry about that. And if they're sick enough to go round with something distasteful like that, showing their ignorance on them, I guess it's something that you can really feel sorry for their low intelligence level. They're more to be pitied than anything else.
All right.
And so it wasn't part of reality of what I knew to be fact. And so it went in the fiction file, and I must admit with some of the cartoons that have been around, I've quite seen the funny side of them.
You're recovering from your little lad's death, Emmett. How old was he when he died?
He was 19, he was nearly 9, he was a month short of being 9.
9?
It was 1987.
Yes. Died asthma?
He was after an asthma attack, he was subject after an asthma attack, and complications set in and suffocation. That's what happened. It just happened suddenly. He was out playing ball one minute and having his dinner the next, and his mum came to take him out, and it just happened there. And it was an hour that just suddenly went haywire.
And your reaction to all of that and coping with it?
Well, you cope. You learn to cope. You have to learn to cope because you realise so many people are depending on you to cope as well. And you have to cope. And you've got a lot of friends to help you to cope out. If you take the help and realise that people are coping with it and coping with you and your situation. But it's the other thing that I want to talk about is the reaction of other people as to how you are grieving, as to when you should grieve, how you should grieve, and the way you should grieve. That it's totally unfair for people going around the Valley of the Squinting Windows type syndrome. There, people are saying, oh, look at him, he's gone out for a pint already. Or look at him, oh, he's really gone to pieces, he's staying indoors, and all that. I mean, you'd never know in this situation, because I always know people who may have been through it are the ones who understand and make no remarks. I think the ones who haven't been through it are the ones who sort of subject you to this sort of intimidation. I didn't say intimidation because they say it to somebody else, and then it eventually gets back to you. They say somebody talking about you the other night, saying you were out drinking your pints and that. You have to go out. You've got to resume life. You've got to meet your friends, and they help you to cope. But I wish people would leave people who are grieving to grieve the way they want to grieve, and not expect them to grieve the way they expect them to grieve.
we had to hide. Nobody knows why some of us get broken hearts, and some of us find a world that's clear and bright. You could be packed up and ready, knowing exactly where to go. How come you miss the connection? No use in asking, the answer is nobody knows. No use in asking, the answer is nobody knows.
A lot of people say to me, you know, you went to Trinity, obviously your father went there, or maybe your grandfather fought in the Boer War and he left a legacy which stipulated that you had to go to Trinity, which is, you know, a lot of people go because of their daddies and their fathers carry on. I went to Trinity because, for the simple reason, that the 78 bus terminus is right beside Trinity College. That was the reason for my decision. Now, I don't know if Joe Jennings from Dublin Bus or John Hines, when he was there, decided to put the 78 bus terminus in Fleet Street.
So that our Joe
was,
would go to Trinity.
That was the pivotal question when I went to Trinity.
That's what we archaeologists call a thistle brooch. You see those little brambles?
Yes.
They remind you of a thistle. God knows what the fellows at the time called it, but that's what a thistle brooch. The other side is beautifully ornate as well. The interesting thing also, that's the equivalent of a wallet, say, in the year 950.
Yeah.
Why so?
Because if you wanted to buy something, you could snip off part of your silver brooch. The main value of that was its weight in silver.
One of the first interviews I ever did for RTE, I interviewed a smashing woman down in County Carlow. She's now dead. She was much older than I was. Very religious person. And I was talking to her about contraception. I thought I'd be run out of the place, you know. And she said to me, well, I know the church doesn't like it. And I know they give out about it. But she said, it's like this. When I was a single woman, I read Cinderella and I thought of Happily Ever After. And then she said I got married and I couldn't buy a suit of clothes for the next, I don't know how long, because I didn't know what shape I was going to be next year. And she said it caused great problems in her marriage when she said she didn't want another child next year. This was after a certain number of children. And that it did cause problems in her marriage. Now that's gone.
This was a moment. Look at yourself, Nell. You'll enjoy this. Have a look. Down there. Down there. Look. Down there. There is a sentence.
God, you were very young.
To the RTE authority which says, Marian Finucane will never take the late share. It is supposed to be significant of the way that women are done down. Marian, let's put the line to that vote. How about that, man? It's all yours, man. Noel, can you move down? Can you move down there, please? Okay, you're all right, guys. I will go over. So what happened since then?
I seem to have gone a little greyer.
Let's have a welcome, please, for the Follies, live from the RDS and Holiday World 91. Holiday World 91.
God bless you, son. You're a wizard. You
Okay,
really
thank you.
were. What's your reaction when you see that now? Do you feel like crying or?
I do, yeah.
Do you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like watching someone else, yeah. And I hope at the end of the day, all the rubbish they read about me, about the women and the cars and the gambling and the booze or whatever, that's the one thing they'll always remember.
That's right.
They can't take that away from me, ever.
That's right.
And it's always going to be there.
No.
And it makes me proud to watch it, yeah.
Well done. Well done.
I don't get age from loving. We used a towel. We used the one towel with our son, as we used. We didn't do anything different. We used the one towel, the one soap. You don't get AIDS from loving your children. We loved them, we hugged them, we kissed them. What I say is just let your child know that you love them. And if it's possible, it mightn't always be possible, but if it is possible at all, take them home. They're very, very aware. Because when my son was in hospital, he was in stress. The stress was there. But we had to leave him there for the few weeks to try the drug that they were trying. It didn't do any good, so we took him home. So I say, when they're at home, they're very, very aware. They're with their loved ones. They have their friends coming in. And if they get the death of my son, it's really worth it. But it's no problem. Like, they are no problem. We never had any problem. We only had a doctor twice there with him. The nurse only came 8 days before he died, so it was never any problem. So I say, love your children. And I say to the children, tell your parents, because they're there and they will support you. And it makes no difference, they still love you.
The same thing happened to Elizabeth. I went out
In London?
In London. I
You
went
went
out to Elizabeth to buy a paper.
Yes.
And I bought it in Dublin. She didn't realise that. And I was gone for 2 weeks. And my brother called me. This is a true story, I swear to God, this is true. My brother called me and he said, look, you better get back. I said, why? He's dead now, the poor boy. He said, why? And I said, I think she's seen a lawyer. I said, for what? Is something wrong? He said, yeah, she's going to divorce you. I said, never. He said, yes, she's going to divorce you. You really better go back. Come back. So I thought, oh, my God, okay. So I went around Dublin buying presents for her, right? And then I got back, and the plane arrived in late. And I remember going down Bedford Gardens, and my house was there. I remember standing outside the house and thinking, what am I going to say? Because Dermot's there saying she is livid. She won't even let you into the house. It's over. She has seen the lawyer. I said, oh, my God. So I saw the light on in her bedroom. And the lights were out in the house, rest of the house. So I walked up, and I didn't have a key. I was never allowed a key, or I lost the key, or I gave it to somebody who normally turned up, whoever I gave it to. So I pressed the doorbell, you see, and we have a little, we had a little code ring. Tick, 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 tick. Pause, pause, tick. Just one. I did that, and I waited. Nothing. And I did tick, 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 and didn't go the boop. I waited. And I heard the footsteps coming down the stairs. I thought, oh, God, what am I going to say? And then I heard her walking towards the door, the hall light going on, and the door opened. And there was this really beautiful-looking woman with these amazingly blue eyes, staring, humorless, thoughtless, into mine, like that. And she just looked, and I looked at her and I said, why didn't you pay the ransom?
There was a big question about that goal, when it was scored, there was a lot of talk about a push, but he gave him a little bit of a nudge anyway, let's say.
You're still thinking about it, Mick. It's 1982 and you're still thinking about it.
I'll think about it until I go into the grave, I can tell you.
I did say there were must be lots of lonely men out there in lonely television land who wanted to get the red glasses off me. But in fact, none of those people have ever written to me. What I get are letters from, I have a sort of great lot of fans who are 9 and 10-year-old children who write to me and say they love my programme, and I write back to them and send them recipes and so on. They tell me their daddies are making silage, or that there was a new calf or something like that. So I have a lots of fans around the country, but normally from 9 to 12-year-olds.
None of the other fellows?
The other fellows have come out of the woodwork anyway so far.
And the one I had before, that has a Ford 100E, and it was made in 1957.
You're sparing with your motor cars, aren't you?
Well, I'm able to keep them going.
You're able to keep them going very good. Simca, what mileage is on the Simca?
It's going on for 130,000 miles an hour.
As the fella says to
And it got us here tonight.
It got you here tonight, good.
And it's not being rewound now or anything.
See, and what did you pay for it?
I got it for £30.
I met this well-known TD who thought that innuendo was an Italian suppository. And I thought, well, I'll go along with that. And then people were saying to me, what's the difference between an immature liver fluke and mature recollection? And I said, what? And I said, well, one of them is a tapeworm.
Think about it, that's a slow one.
There is no conclusive evidence to prove that the man is at it or not at it. At all.
You were heard on the phone, you were heard making a date, your wife caught you in the hotel. What more is there?
He was making an appointment. There's a difference between an appointment and a date. He was making an appointment with an old girlfriend. There was no suggestion whatsoever in the script or in the acting.
God, there was a
none
suggestion
whatsoever. It is the dirty minds of the people of Ireland.
I was so upset. I thought, where in the world is he? You know, none of the vehicles were gone, and my mother lived a short distance away, and I thought, well, I'll stop by. And she said, I locked those keys up. He cannot get them. I said, Mother, you don't understand. The man is gone. And I walked out of the garage where we kept the tractors and the lawnmowers, and I thought, oh no, and I just turned around. When I did, the riding lawnmower was gone, and I got in the pickup, and I drove 13 miles and brought the lawnmower back in the back of the pickup.
Well done. Save the lawnmower, whatever about it. And George?
I brought him home.
What color lipstick should I wear? What do I do with this hair? What have I done with those old party shoes? How do I make myself?
On in, really go to town. Here and there, different smells, I really shopped around. Now I use Insignia, shampoo to shower gel, deodorant and aftershave with one all over smell. Now there's Insignia, and it's all over now.
Ice cream like there's never been. Real cream, double churned for a smoother, more creamy taste. Soft caramel and the thick, thick real milk chocolate of Mars. It's the Mars Ice Cream Bar. You can't improve on a Mars, but you can improve on ice cream.
Welcome to my world.
We'd like to welcome you to the world of Calor Gas Central Heating with a very cozy introductory offer. For details, just ring us now on free phone 1800 400 500. Bulmer's original cider. Nothing added but time.
When you're eating a sensible diet,
the Kellogg's Special K breakfast is a good start to any day. Delicious malty flakes and only 190 calories the lot. Kellogg's Special K. Get in shape, lose the fat.
If you want to make tea with a certain consistency and distinction, you must go to India for delicacy, to Africa for strength, to Sri Lanka and Java for distinctive flavors. Lion's master blenders do, selecting some of the world's finest teas to bring you the special taste of Lion's Gold. If you want to make tea of a certain distinctive flavor, go to Gold from Lions.
People in each room. Automobile in America, Romeo in America, Wildmobile in America, very big deal in America. I drive a Buick through San Juan. If there's a road you can drive on. I get my cousin safety ride. How you get all in the meantime? Immigrant goes to America, many have lost in America, nobody knows in America, what are the goes in America?
Well, I'll tell you, in our country, the most powerful people in the world who are elected officials and they're elected to serve us really sacrifice that privacy. When you want to become President and First Lady of the United States, there is no more privacy left. Your tax returns become public, your intestines are diagnosed on television, your medical records, absolutely everything becomes public, because in America we feel that these people work for us and they feel that the public is entitled to know.
Can I do a bit about where you stop by the guard?
Yes,
I have this notion of Jimmy McCreevy stop by the guard. Stod, stand there.
Hello, how you guard?
How are you, Jimmy?
Do you know what speed you were doing there? Let me see. I don't know that, but if you'd asked me what speed I was doing on the way to the 84 Munster final, it'd have been 75 between this and Newbridge. 86 all the way from Newbridge to Hurlingford, and an astonishing 110 all the way from this Hurlingford into Thurles.
Jim, I have to ask you, one thing that puzzled me last night, why Lean Ann? Could you not find a field anywhere in Kerry to make the movie?
I wanted to get a kind of area where the man had to literally dig the rocks out of the field. And I wanted to make it a universal story, you know. And Lean Ann is just a fantastic ford, you know, and it's just one of the most beautiful towns in Ireland, and it only has one side to it, so it's not too expensive to fix up, you know.
That's my boy.
Sleigh bells ringing in the lane, Christmas time is here again. Boys and girls are dancing round, snowflakes falling on the ground. Tom loves Mary, Jim loves Ann, Dan loves Sue and Sue loves Dan. Everybody's feeling fine.
People would be having their way with me left, right, and centre. Chance would have been a fine thing. But I did have a fellow I fancied very much, and I remember he was having a party, and he organised the drink, and I was to organise the food. Now, you have no idea, that was like being queen for a day. That was a hugely important thing. So I organised the food, like this would be tomato sandwiches and sausages, you understand, the gourmet stuff of which I was the author. And so my father said, when he heard me talking about it on the phone, he said to my mother, I think it's a bottle party. And the words bottle party were like, you know, sort of hard drugs, group sex, you know, the word bottle party. And so he said, well, the great, I was 17, and the great, and I loved this boy so much who was giving the party. And the great thing was, that I could go to the party, but I had to come home on the 11:27 bus. And I came home at 11, and I couldn't tell them that I had to come home because my mother and father were afraid that people would have their way with me. So I had to pretend that I had a headache or a pain in my face or something like that, and I came home on the bus. I was so cross. And my poor, kind father came down to the bus to meet me, because it would be dark, you see, and he walked me up the bus. And he kept saying, "Isn't that grand? You're home now." Shouldn't I do anything more awful?
What about American audiences? Do they differ very much from local?
Oh, yes, indeed. Like, you know, actually, audiences in general, the great thing was I was up in Edinburgh, and I was 2 minutes before I was going on the show, I got this tap at the door and said, "Your Auntie Mary's outside." And, like, I haven't got an Auntie Mary. And this woman from Northern Ireland comes and kisses me and says, "I want to get into the show. I'm pretending you're Auntie Mary." And like, yeah, in she goes, and then there was another Irish comedian, Owen O'Neill, and she went over to his venue and said she was his mother. You know, and Owen's mother had been dead like 10 years. He's going, "What, me mother?" I'd really like that they'd liked him, but American audiences, there's a difference, because over here, like, you know, when you get heckled, heckling is when people shout things at you. Over here, people go, "Hey, yeah," and you go, "Yeah," back. Like in America, like, people have guns, so that changes. "Hey, man, you suck." "I do, don't I? Don't shoot." But also, like, it's nice to travel, because you just see different cultures, like, you know, because also American, like, I'm going to use a rude word, but not very rude, because American people do actually say "and shit" at the end of every sentence. For no reason, like, you go and say, "Excuse me, could you tell me where there's a good restaurant, please?" And they go, "Sure, up the road and shit." Thanks, I've lost appetite, actually.
What are your standard heckler stoppers then, Sean? Give me 2 or 3.
But see, I don't actually, because, like, again, like, basically what Goldman was saying before, because, like, you get a lot of hatred at gigs, like, where people just, you know, are obnoxious. And I tend to, like, you know, you get certain comedians who are aggressive. Like, there's lots of things you can say, like, this is what happens when cousins get married, that kind of thing, which is old hat, like, and I don't particularly want to use that. So I'll just actually, you know, take it on board. Like last night we did the Olympia, and there was lots of friendly heckling, like, you know, so, and it was just like we'd have a chat, like, an interplay, but none of this, you know.
None of the nasty stuff, yeah. And what about Irish Americans? Did you experience them at all?
Oh, God, yeah, because you know how they patronise us, like, you know, they used to come up to me after a show, like, and say, "Hey, great show, here's some money for the boys." I'm not married, actually, mate. Because I worked for the Irish Tourist Board in Dublin. This is a lie, by the way. That's what us comedians do. You know, to build up a joke, we pretend we do things. Like, I just wrote at home writing this. No, but I worked for the Irish Tourist Board, and you know, the Irish Americans would come in and say, you know, "Hey, we're looking for our ancestors," and I'd say, "Sorry, they died 400 or 500 years ago. Sorry to break the bad news to you." Ah, shit.
From Dublin and Shannon, only one airline can fly you all the way to over 250 North American destinations. Delta Airlines, because America is our backyard.
Oi, have you sussed new Window Plus? It cleans so fast that it's a must. It cuts through grease and dirt and dust. When you Window Plus, your windows.
What gives you brilliant whites, but goes easy on your pocket? Daz. At a price that's right. Masters of the art. The very best bakers
Use Crown and Marigold margarine.
I'm a couch potato, and I love football. Never miss a match on the box. Lovely with the odd snack or two.
I'm a gerbil and I'm not too keen on football. I much prefer my young with a bowl of muesli crunch.
Me? I play football, get plenty of exercise and watch what I eat, like healthy options from Birdseye. This one's spaghetti bolognese. Low fat, man-sized, delicious.
Why be a couch potato or a gerbil?
I once played table football. Terribly rough.
Take the healthy option.
So, what did you have to do to get a mortgage? You know, if we were you, we'd think first.
There are many things that can cause headaches. But only one headaches. Many things to take for headaches. But only one headaches. Headaches acts quickly on headaches without upsetting your stomach. And that's why there's only one headaches.
Biscuit, caramel, and delicious Cadbury